happening, internet? Myself and Matthew here. We are at Clean Getaway in Aylesbury because we are both really bad at cleaning cars, which you have already seen. Don't you think, Matt?
Just a little bit.
Just a bit. Yep, we're here with a Code Drift car to get it washed today, and we have a Tame racing driver here.
Oh, that's me. Oh, okay, yeah, sorry, that's me. I'm the Tame racing driver.
That is very true. Matthew is the channel's Tame racing driver, and we just want to ask him a few questions about himself and about his racing. So, Matt, tell us a bit about your motorsport history.
Oh, it's a bit of a roller coaster ride, if I'm honest, to be fair. A family are in the car trade, so I've had fuel and octane fuel running through the blood ever since I was at a young age, even though my dad wanted me to be a solicitor or a accountant, something.
I can't see you as a solicitor or an accountant.
I can actually see myself as a solicitor, but maybe not an accountant. But anyway.
No comment.
So yeah, from a young age I've always wanted to be in racing, but my parents obviously wouldn't let me get involved, too dangerous. So yeah, as soon as I was old enough, I went and done it myself, and been involved in drifting, circuit racing, oval racing, all sorts of stuff, but there's just nothing on par with the adrenaline that is drifting.
So, Matt, tell us how you got into drifting.
Well, that's a funny story as well, because I was racing at the time, doing a bit of circuit racing, a bit of open wheel stuff, and a mate of mine, Mr. Daniel O'Brien, or as a lot of people know him, and basically he had a 200SX that he was modifying for drifting, and I said to him, well, where are you taking it? Where are you doing this stuff? And it took me along to one of his rounds, and I pit BIT'd for him. Yeah. And,
Pit Biatch.
It's a family program, Elliott.
Nah.
And yeah, I pit BIT'd, for however you want to put it, for him that weekend, and that was it. I was hooked. I was in. It was Landau racetrack down in Wales. Went back there for many meetings after that, and that's it. And that was about, I think, 12 years ago now. So that's a bit worrying.
So you can say you've well and truly caught the drift bug.
Oh, yes.
So, what's been the highlight of your drifting career so far?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd have to go back to my roots, and again, I think it was my first ever competition, first ever race, officially with the British Drift Championship. It was at Silverstone Stowe Circuit, and I was up against Mr. Ian Phillips, or as a lot of people know him as Biz. He is still competing in the British Drift Championship, and me and him were just going absolutely at it. I've even got door still with his wheel imprinted in the door from where obviously they say get up close and personal, and yeah, he definitely got up close and personal, and just knocked me off the top spot, and I came second in my first ever competition. So yeah, I was well happy with that.
What car were you driving at the time?
Well, that's a very interesting thing, and for anyone that does recognise me from the drifting world, probably know me more of my Mazda RX-7, which obviously you all got very upset about at the time because I put an LS, obviously V8 in it, with a very help from Craig Taylor at Dynatalk, and yeah, that thing was an absolute animal.
Having been in that car, yeah, I agree with him. It was a monster, V8, but it was awesome. So Matt, why did you choose an S-body, a 200SX?
Well, as we've touched on with the RX-7, that was an absolute animal of a car, but because it wasn't standard, and because no one really does anything for drifting with them, because apparently they are really hard to drift, which I will agree with, but I like a challenge. So we chose an S-body because we thought it would be easier. And I don't do anything by half or normal, and definitely nor does Guok from Code, so it didn't really result in it being easier, but yeah, I suppose a few of the parts we could pick up from obviously people like Jap Speed and Driftwork, so that's why we chose an S-body.
It makes sense. Having owned an SR20 swapped FD myself, I know that they can be a bit of a pig.
Yeah, it's a great platform.
It is, but I'm just not a great driver, so...
No comment.
Moving on swiftly. How much power does the car have?
We haven't actually got a dyno figure for it because a lot of it's been road mapped. Yeah, I've got a very unique way of driving. Normal mapping processes don't normally work that well, so I work very closely with Walton at Nispro, and yeah, we do a lot of road mapping just to fine tune it and to try and cater for my right foot.
Your very heavy right foot.
Yes, I've tried to have it lightened. I've tried many different ways of trying to shave things off of it, but unfortunately it doesn't work. I end up just making my left leg worse.
Have you got lead insoles in your shoes?
No.
Are you sure?
Is that where I'm going wrong?
Maybe.
I need to stop buying DCs.
Ken Block is not happy with your right foot. Actually, no, Ken Block would be very happy with your right foot.
Yes. Top man. Oh yeah, cheers man. Yeah, I'll put that there.
Right, now we're around the back of the car, Matt. There's one thing we obviously need to speak of. The wing.
It's not a wing, it's an ironing board.
It's
Or a table. Or a bench.
I don't know what it is. Is it functional?
Yes. Oh my god. It's ridiculously functional to the point that if I actually drive on the motorway, I have to remove it because anything over 60 miles an hour, you have to be on full chat. Otherwise, it actually slows you down and you go backwards.
So, in other words, it's a little bit too functional.
Yes and no, because realistically, obviously, if you're doing drifting, obviously of that speed, you really do want that back end of the car planted into that tarmac, and it really does make the car squat. If I'm honest, when we were first doing it, we was doing it more for looks, but obviously we did want to make it look cool and also functional. We didn't know how well it was going to work, but obviously when we actually did build it and we did test it, it was ridiculously functional. So yeah,
it's pretty sturdy as well. I mean, I'm quite fat and I'm leaning on it, and I mean, it ain't going anywhere.
I still haven't finished. I still want to make it more secure and obviously work it in a little bit more. I want to obviously add on some little flaps on the back and really start playing around with the downforce. But yeah, for now it works.
So it's only going to get bigger.
Yeah.
Nutter. And while we're around the back of the car, there's another thing I want to ask as well. I've noticed that the radiator's in the back of it. Why did you do that?
Well, again, as you know, drifting, things get really hot. Ridiculously hot. My RX-7, you couldn't actually even touch the centre column. It was just so hot.
I remember being in it and it melting the sole of my shoe in the passenger footwell. So, yeah.
Yeah, the drift cars do get really hot. So one of the biggest problems when you're dealing with obviously all that heat soak up the front, you then obviously on all the power you're putting down, it's just another nightmare. So it's been something that I've wanted to do for a long time. It also moves the weight of the car really nicely to the back end, and with that 50-50 weight distribution, with obviously the rear wing, we can really plant and get that power down to the back tyres and start tearing up some rubber.
So basically, if you don't win anything, it's not the car's fault.
Well, I mean, you know, I've got this lovely black book of excuses that I use when obviously I don't win, so I'm sure I can find something in there.
I may have to use it as well.
Mate, I think you wrote it.
No comment. So Matt, tell me, what is this thing like to drive? I bet it's a bit of an animal.
If I'm honest, it's actually really controllable. It is an animal, and in certain situations it doesn't have a lot of grip. Obviously some of the slower stuff are on some greasy surfaces like we've been playing today, but it is seriously controllable. It's incredible going from the RX-7 that is a nightmare to drive. That thing wants to kill you at every opportunity.
It's got to be fun though. I mean, it makes it a little bit more interesting if the thing you're trying to tame is trying to kill you.
Well, personally, I'd much prefer to die in this form of a box, sideways at 100 miles an hour in a big blazing glory of fire, rather than at sort of 80, 90 in a cardboard box, bored out of my skull.
So in other words, you'd rather die in a Nissan box than a Mazda box?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Oh no, I would quite happily died in the Mazda as well.
Well, yeah, I know what your driving's like, so yeah, no comment. Right, tell us about the interior. I mean, I can see that it's a pretty funky place to be. It looks pretty nice for a drift car.
Again, I don't do anything by half. I don't like being normal, that's something that I've definitely done throughout my whole entire life. I don't like sort of following sheep or following the norm. So yeah, and having Corbeau as one of the main sponsors for the car, we had to do something tasty. So we went absolutely wild with the interior, as you can see.
Yeah, I mean the seat belts, they look wicked. The seats are lovely as well. I mean, it looks like it's quite comfy compared to a lot of other drift cars I've seen. Yeah. There's nothing sticking out that's jagged and going to kill you, unlike a lot of other people's drift cars I've been in as well. I'm impressed.
No comment.
On that note, this is probably a good place to wrap this up. See you later.